How's it going, my comic shop? We're here today with Robert Radau, the creator of The Devil in Disguise. How you doing, Robert?
Just Ducky, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's a beautiful day down here in Florida.
Not so much here in Buffalo.
I think I talked to somebody yesterday who said it was either raining or snowing up there, or it's cold as hell.
It's cold, and if you're in what we call the South Towns, they got about 4 inches of snow this weekend. But the city's fine.
See, I moved down here from Virginia in 2015, and I've been down here ever since in Florida. And I say I miss the snow until I'm back in it. I'm probably going to just absolutely hate it. So, how long have you been making comics for?
Uh, Seriously, just for this year, but I did originally attend the Joe Kubert School back in 1985, and left my first year because I didn't see myself looking at all the other talent being able to make a living at it. But now I don't have to make a living at it, and the options for publishing are much wider than just Marvel, DC, and Archie, as it was in '85.
Yeah. What was you reading indie comics back in '85, or was you just reading mainstream?
No, I was reading indie comics. Still read Love and Rockets. I've been that's like my entire comic reading experience has been Love and Rockets. That's the only constant. But yeah, I read Eclipse Comics and First Comics. I lose track of all the other independents at the time.
So, I guess how did you know about the second issue or the next issue of what you're reading? Would they sell them at cons, meetups back in the '80s, '85?
No, we had comic shops.
All the comic shops would sell the independents.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
That's
well,
cool.
at the time I lived on Long Island and used to make frequent trips into New York City for the shops that are there, and they had everything that was Marvel down to the guy across the street who was doing his own comic. So
That's cool. What?
always had high exposure to what was out.
So, what's the Devil in Disguise about?
Devil in Disguise is a about 25 years ago. I had an idea for a one-page gag strip, and it's Elvis shows up at a drug dealer's office. He's got the collar, the cape, the sunglasses, the pompadour, everything. The guy doesn't recognize him. And Elvis says, "I'd like to buy all your drugs," and hands down a couple of sacks of money. The guy goes, "All right." The guy hands over all the drugs. Elvis whips off the sunglasses and goes, "This is a bust." The guy goes, "Oh my God, it's Elvis." But I couldn't see making that a series. But when I came back into creating several years ago, I decided to turn it around and look at it seriously. I did a lot of research, about a year and a half worth of research on Elvis and how the DEA and the FBI handled drug busts from the '50s on up, and following the addiction community locally, and decided to look at it seriously and compassionately and see how over the last 40 years the public has changed its opinion on addiction from one of punishment to one of understanding and acceptance. But in that, we have a character much like Elvis. It's in an alternate universe where a character much like Elvis does become an agent for the Drug Enforcement Agency while pursuing his own career. So there's romance, there's rock and roll, there's martial arts, there's drug kingpins, there's Las Vegas, there's humor, there's action, a little bit of everything. And hopefully by the end of the series, somebody comes away with something a little extra.
And you're going to kickstart this, right?
Issue 1 and 2 are already out. Issue 3 is well underway. Up to page 22, I might make issue 3 a 48-pager.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It sounds good, but yeah, putting the pages together it's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, I've worked with 2 artists so far. First 2 issues were done by Chris Zamora, who did some work for Dynamite. He worked on a Vampirella book,
Okay.
and he's now left the series. And the new artist, Christina, working with her, and she's in Germany. And this would be her first published work, but she is fantastic. She was told by her instructors, "You should take your portfolio right now to DC Comics, and they'll give you a book." So I've been lucky with the quality of artists, because I'm all right, but I'm agonizingly slow. So,
I was gonna ask.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask you about it because I can see over your. I think it would be your left shoulder there. All your paintbrushes. Yeah.
Yeah, I do my own work, but again, I'm really slow.
Are you lettering back there?
I'm lettering, I'm inking, penciling. I've done the page layouts for the first 2 issues. Then gave them over to Chris, the artist, and he either follows them or ignores them, based on his superior instincts. And I have had no problems with him ignoring the layouts. That's just part of my scripting process, actually.
So do you think Elvis is really dead?
By now,
Yeah, because they
yeah,
across a video that a guy somewhere in the United States is claiming to be Elvis.
yeah. You ever see the movie Bubba Hotep?
I haven't.
Oh, you should see that one. That takes the premise that Elvis replaced himself with an impersonator
Oh,
just to get away from the fame, and then he battles a mummy. So Bruce Campbell stars in it. I like that idea, but no, I'm pretty certain Elvis died in 1977.
yeah, I believe he did too.
I don't think he would have done that to his daughter. You know,
Say that again.
I don't think he would have done that to his daughter.
Yeah, I agree. So, is the Devil in Disguise in comic shops? Can people get them through Diamond or anything?
They can get them locally in Buffalo. They can find them through our company website, Nectar Comics, NECTAR. You can also currently pick them up on crowdfunder.com. And in January, I'm going to start pushing it around to publishers. Now that I'm more than halfway through the series, I'm comfortable submitting it. They'll see that I'm serious about the work. So.
And now you have 2 books under your belt, so
yeah,
you have a back catalog, so that should help.
Yeah, and
What
it looks good as well. So, and hopefully, it has an audience.
What advice would you give to new creators out there?
Set yourself a reasonable schedule. Know your own work habits. If you're expecting to put out a book every month, make sure you can do it in 2 weeks. If you're only capable of doing a book every 6 months, try to have a backlog of material before you try to kickstart it. And once you kickstart it, expect that that's going to take most of your time.
As the book's in color, right? It's not in full black and white.
It's in black and white. going back to Love and Rockets, I find that usually when I flip through a new book, if it's in black and white, I assume it's of a more mature or matured nature or more serious, let's say. So I wanted to do that.
I like black and white. When black and white is done correctly, I think it's so much better than color.
Yeah, I got lucky with the two artists that they work real well in black and white, gray tones. You know, I look at a lot of comics now and I go, wow, that's a great looking book. And then you look at it really close, like, that's all the coloring. There's very little line work in some of this stuff. So my book doesn't suffer from that.
Yeah,
But
modern.
it would be nice if somebody did want to publish it and put it in color. I have no objections. Just saying it.
Yeah, modern day comics is just, it's frustrating, you know. Reading indie comics and reading mainstream, it's so frustrating what the mainstream is allowed to get away with, you know.
You know, if the book looks good, if it reads well, then I don't have a problem with it.
I just finished a Marvel big event, and instead of them like wrapping it all up after 38 issues, this is the end, everything's nice, here you go. It was just a solicitation for another 6, 7 series. It's like, are you serious?
Yeah, I don't bother with those.
Yeah, I do one every few years, and I haven't had good luck with the last 3 that I've picked.
What was that last one? The King in Black that Marvel did, and I don't know what the storyline was, but I got roped into buying some of the satellite issues,
Mm.
and I didn't care. None of it roped me in.
See, I
I think
skipped,
the original Crisis is the only one that really worked like that.
and now I think they've done 3 or 4 since that one.
Yeah, Infinite Crisis, which I think is aptly named.
Yeah, and I think they did Dark Crisis. Yeah,
Final Crisis. Um, yeah, it's now the books are $4 or $5 a piece. I mean, I can't do it. I can't buy 12 books a month to
yeah,
follow 8 pages worth of story.
I agree. Well, what social medias are you on? Where can people where can people find you nowadays?
Pardon?
What social medias are you on? Where can people find you nowadays?
Facebook primarily. There's a YouTube channel. I'm updating that this week with all the videos. And personally, Chris Zamora and I are both on Instagram. But Facebook would be the one to follow. That's where the most information is. Or directly through the Nectar website.
Are you on there as Robert or the Devil in Disguise?
The title of the book, Devil in Disguise, Robert W. Radau.
Okay.
On Facebook, it's The Devil in Disguise GN, the graphic novel. Otherwise, you end up with like 30 different Elvis websites.
So, do you?
Coming up in March, Nectar Comics will have a table at the Indie Press Con in Connecticut. This will be their 2nd annual.
I was just going to ask you about that. What cons are you going to be at?
Negotiating the New York Comic Con next October. We're going back and forth with. They want to know what I do, what I sell. It'll be the first time I'm doing that show. I'm confident we'll get in. We got good product.
And that should be a really, really good turnout for you too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll get to meet a lot of people that I've only known online or haven't even seen in 25 years working the show. So that should be a ball. And then we do. Stephen Cullis, the other creator over at Nectar, he does shows locally in Jersey. I do shows locally here in Buffalo. So We are present.
Dead or alive? Who was your dream team to make a comic book with?
Chester Gould writing from Dick Tracy, and Alex Raymond drawing it, or Al Williamson, or E.C. Segar writing from Popeye, and Alex Toth drawing, and Gasper Saladino lettering. Just want to toss that out. Letters are always left out.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Are you currently reading any indie comics? Like, is there anybody that we should keep our eye on?
Oh my goodness, what do I have here on my desk? Michael Walsh's current Universal Monsters Frankenstein series. Fantastic. So there's that. There's Love and Rockets. I think what else? Mostly I dig through the dollar bins. And I'm not seeing anything by Marvel and DC that interests me. I was buying a couple of, but now that the series have ended, any of the Planet of the Apes books, the Enfield Massacre by Image, that was a good Western. And I got about 16 boxes of stuff I haven't read yet. So
I was looking at some of your short boxes over there. Yeah.
That's the unread section.
And who do you got framed on the wall back there?
I have an original Charles Vess Doctor Strange backup page from Marvel Fanfare. I knew him back in the 80s. I have a Jonah Hex done by the late Jose Delbo. He was probably most noted for his Wonder Woman run, but he did a lot of Westerns for Charlton. He was one of my instructors at the Kubert School. And remember Atlas Comics in the 70s?
Yeah.
Hands of the Dragon, I believe it's page 4 by Jim Craig.
Yeah.
It's old stuff. That's when you could afford a page. They were like $35 a page. Now it's what, 1,500?
Yeah, just to open the book.
Yeah, that's if the artists work traditionally, because so many of them just work digital now. There's no product. There's nothing to hold in your hand.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
I want to thank you for the interview. I hope that there are some rock and roll, martial arts, romance, humor enthusiasts out there that would get a kick out of The Devil in Disguise. Also follow our other, I guess it's a sister book under Nectar Comics called Call of the Totem. If you're interested in Native American and fantasy, that is a great book. Also fantastic art, great storytelling. And if you're in Connecticut in March, come see us at the Indie Press Con. And if you're in the New York Con next October, look for the hat.
I appreciate you taking the time to come talk with me, Robert.
Thanks very much, Cody.
What? You mean you haven't subscribed to Comicchatauthority? Oh, come on, subscribe already. What are you waiting for? It's no big deal. Like, man, don't forget to tell him to hit that like button. Yeah, that too. Just subscribe.